Remember back in the day when John Cena and The Rock would do business together and it would actually lead to an impressive moment at not just one, but 3 WrestleManias? Boy, those days are long gone, but that's why we're here this week to talk about Survivor Series 2011. It's the 25th annual edition from November 20th at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden in New York City. This show was nominated by Bad News Black over at patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. Never before, never again. That was the big hook to get people to watch Survivor Series this year, because this is one part of the story going from WrestleMania 27 to 28. Of course, back at 27, The Rock cost John Cena his match with The Miz, and then one night later, they announced the main event of the following year's WrestleMania. I've talked about that at length enough, but here was a little pit stop along the way. The Rock's first match in 7 years would take place in the very building that he debuted in back in 1996, and they're dubbing this as the most charismatic tag team of all time, and it's really hard to debate that because, objectively, The Rock and John Cena are the 2 biggest stars in WWE at this time. The Rock coming in to do some business as part of this big overarching program they had planned back at around Mania 27 time to do 2 main events with Rock and Cena at the next WrestleManias, and this was just one part of it. It is a big deal because, again, this is a period of time when WWE still is trying to elevate, trying to grow again in popularity. Again, Mania 27, historically shitty, and I think a lot of consumer confidence in WWE at the time was pretty low, especially amongst the adult demographic. But I think that getting The Rock involved, getting him back in the ring, I do think that having him show up here and at least having some interaction and being on TV to help promote this stuff is good. And this is all happening as The Miz and R-Truth are essentially copying the Nexus's gimmick from the previous year, causing all sorts of chaos, really becoming the most interesting act in, or at least on Raw at the time. And so I guess it makes sense that they would be justly rewarded by being fed to the most charismatic tag team of all time, but we'll get to that later. One of the biggest things to talk about in the build to this show, for me at least, is that the Muppets guest hosted an episode of Raw leading in to this show. This is back during the time when they didn't have GM power. It's after that period of time. And I won't go into too much detail about it in this video. I'll save it more for when I eventually cover it on Guest Host Raw. But it was very silly to see that episode for sure. Also, the big thing in WWE right now, Twitter, Twitter, Twitter. Every other word out of Michael Cole's mouth at this point is Twitter. Like, Twitter had been around for a while at this point, but 2011 was a really big year of expansion. WWE got their Twitter handle, and of course they had to shill the hell out of that thing. And man, it got really annoying. Like, they obviously integrate social media today, and I get back then it's like it's the hot new thing, so you gotta mention it, but man, it's a bit much when like everything they talk about is like, oh wow, did you see what this wrestler said on Twitter? And wow, look at how many Twitter followers, Zack Ryder has. Like, it's nuts to me how like they base so much of the storytelling on what goes on our phones. The beginning of the opening package talks a lot about the history of the show. It says, for 25 years, it's been a battlefield for survival, the home to controversy, and the event that's launched the careers of legends. And then from then on out, besides Rock and Cena, who gives a shit what else is on this card? Because it's all about never before, never again. And they say never before have 2 known WrestleMania opponents teamed up before throwing down. And I'm like, really? I feel that is a statistic impossibility. There had to be lots of examples where WrestleMania opponents would be a tag team in the lead up to it, right? I mean, I feel we've done that storyline before. So yeah, 0 mention of anything besides Rock or Cena in this opening package, which is really indicative of like the whole, vibe of the show. But again, like Rock and Cena, they drew the house, and what a house it was. 16,749 in the arena. It sold out. 281,000 pay-per-view buys this show got. It's up from 240K or so the previous year. You got Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Booker T from SmackDown on commentary. I thought it's very interesting to see this set here. It was surprising to see how big the set is, because usually when you think the MSG shows, like the pay-per-views, you think like Royal Rumble 2000 or SummerSlam 98. It's a small set with the doors, or Survivor Series 96, but this is like a full wall setup, and I didn't know they could do that at MSG, honestly. It was kind of surprising. Then after the opening music, we see John Laurinaitis come to the stage. He introduces himself with all his titles, and he points out that this show is not only the 25th anniversary of Survivor Series, it's his 10th year in WWE, so sit back and enjoy the show. A bit of a weird way to open it up since we are never seeing him again tonight and he plays no bearing in the show. Just to remind you, he's there. Your opening matchup for the US Championship as Dolph Ziggler alongside Vickie Guerrero defends against John Morrison. As they're doing their intros, they have these wrestler images projected on the sides. For a split second, I could have swore that was Eli Cottonwood up there when John Morrison was making his entrance. So the story here is that Morrison has been on a big losing streak as of late and is first win back. Of course, it's a clean pinfall victory over a champion on TV. What else? And so he beats Ziggler in a non-title match, and that's how he gets this matchup. They also bring up Ziggler is pulling double duty tonight. More on that in a bit. There are immediate "We Want Ryder" chants when this match begins. And folks, get used to hearing it because this is the peak of Ryder Mania. When Zack Ryder, God bless him, he understood the assignment of social media. He tapped in to Twitter and to YouTube to build this following, and it created this huge organic movement for Zack Ryder to get more of a shine, get more of a chance. It was really cool. And of course, WWE did not like that. I did a whole video about Zack Ryder's time in WWE with Dave from Dave Knows Wrestling many years ago if you want to check out a little bit more of it. And obviously, you know, Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, has parlayed this into his current career. You know, he's rode that online support ever since then, and he is, you know, doing well for himself in the independents, and I think, you know, he's taken that whole generation of fans who got into him during that social media push, and it's like it's paid off in huge ways all these years later. But that means there's going to be a lot of Ryder chants at this show because he's from Long Island, they're in New York City. He's not booked on this show tonight, and like every show, people are chanting, "We want Ryder." And yeah, it definitely feels like WWE hates that because they go onto this whole tangent in the middle of this matchup about how, well, you know, Zack Ryder's got to earn his opportunities. I'm like, I don't know, like I get the kayfabe thing about earning it, but like when you get a reaction like that, when you get that many people who want to see you, how is that not earning it? I just don't get that mentality. That's clearly them just saying, like putting their thumb down saying, no, stay down, we didn't want you to get past this point. Anyway, let's get on with this matchup here. Morrison does this big corkscrew dive to the outside onto Ziggler, but Vickie with the distraction, that allows Dolph to take over with a neckbreaker. Ziggler's keeping Morrison grounded, pulling him down by the hair. The Ryder chants near constant as this match continues. Nice float over out of the head scissors into a sleeper by Dolph. Morrison counters with a sleeper of his own, which gets booed. And okay, this is very interesting. It's a wild crowd here tonight. You might have been able to guess, but it's very interesting that they are pro-Dolph, but anti-Vickie Guerrero. That's a very weird dynamic. Vickie makes a bunch of high-pitched noises before she gets ejected by the referee. The action speeds up. There's lots of pinfall attempts. We get a famouser and a kick-out. Morrison goes for the Starship Pain, but Ziggler puts the knees up. Zigzag and Ziggles gets the win. Vickie comes back out to present the belt to her man. Dolph has a mic and says he's become somewhat of a show-off, but it's not showing off if you "We want Ryder! We want Ryder!" So Ziggler keeps plowing through this promo and says he's just really, really good. But then, woo, 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 Zack Ryder comes out to a big pop. He runs down the ramp, and after an initial stomping, he comes back and hits the Rough Rider, standing tall in New York City as Cole calls Ryder a coward. I don't know, Cole, like that hair color with that tan, that's a pretty brave look. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. It's a good match, and I think, you know, to borrow a line from Ziggler in this promo, they make it look really, really good and really easy. But even now, as I did back then, I thought, wow, what a lame duck situation this is for Morrison. Because like all the losses he had incurred up to that point, it's like, wow, they're really burying him. And so then for him to get this pay-per-view title match, especially ahead of like Zack Ryder when you know the momentum's heading toward him, that felt really weird. But this is the last WWE pay-per-view for Morrison for a while. He'd be written off soon after this and then be released from the company for the first time. He'd come back years later, obviously. Meanwhile, you see Zack Ryder getting this, you know, tidal wave of popularity. The push is coming, the moment in the sun is coming, but don't get used to it because it's not going to last long. Coming up next, a Lumberjill match for the Divas Championship as Beth Phoenix, accompanied by pinup strong partner Natalya, defends against Eve Torres. Eve won a Battle Royal 3 weeks earlier to become the #1 contender, and she's got a chance to regain the title. It's a very interesting time for women's wrestling in WWE, because they're obviously very far away still from like women's revolution period, but we're definitely not in like the all models, all, swimsuit bikini girls, divas era either. So we're in this weird hybrid stage where you've got like some of these like legitimate women wrestlers in the company, and you've got these other ladies who are like may not have been brought in as wrestlers, but have like learning the craft and getting better, and like they're all kind of working together, growing together. I think that this is a very mercurial time. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's very fluid, this period in WWE women's wrestling. Phoenix starts off by showing the strength, but Eve is resourceful, and she twerks too. The crowd is mildly popping for that. Eve tries to fight off the heel Jills for a second, and that allows Beth to take over. I love that the cutoffs for the last 2 matches have been basically the same thing. Natalya is just shouting at Eve from the outside. Like, all she says is, "Cry, Eve, cry, you're gonna cry. Cry, Eve, you better cry." She's trying to start a cry, Eve, cry chant with the Jills. She's really focused on seeing Eve cry. Eve makes her way to the top. Beth cuts her off. They set up a long time for a top rope glam slam, which did look pretty cool. Beth with the emphatic victory. I'm going to give it 1 star out of 5. I thought the finish kicked all sorts of ass. I liked that, but I think if you're going to have a lumberjack or lumberjill match and like they're barely used, like I think they were maybe used for 1, 2 glancing moments, like they didn't even really get physical with anyone, that was pointless. Why have them out there unless like, hey, let's give these ladies a PO or something, but it's like they didn't do anything. And I just felt there was really, they didn't contribute to the match. The match itself, even if you like eliminate the Lumberjills, it's just kind of there. We see CM Punk warming up in the locker room when David Otunga walks up behind him with his cup of coffee in hand. He calls him Chicago's unwanted other son. So wait, who? What? Who's he talking about? He says, "Last week you unlawfully put your hands on Michael Cole, and where I'm from, that's assault and battery." And Punk says, "Where I'm from, that's a loudmouth getting what he deserves." And Otunga tells Punk that Johnny Ace wants him to apologize to Cole before going out to wrestle tonight, and Punk says he'll think about it after beating Del Rio, and then he mocks his tie. Again, I'm wondering, like, why, if you're going to have John Laurinaitis come out for that opening bit, and you're doing the current storyline with Punk, like, why couldn't you just have the two of them in the room? Why David Otunga? I didn't get that. We cross-dissolve to a sweaty, tattooed arm, and we see it's The Rock. He is there in the promo zone with his goatee, looking jacked, looking ready to fight. And so he cuts this big, long promo. I'm not going to try and do the voice. I can't do a Rock voice, but I will try and just basically recap what he says to the best of my ability. First off, he starts by saying, "Madison Square Garden, in 1977, 5-year-old Dwayne Johnson's in the front row watching his grandfather take on Buddy Rogers for the WWE title. 7 years later, 12-year-old Rock hanging out backstage with Andre the Giant." And he's like, "Did you hear that? Andre the Giant." Like, he was waiting for a dramatic pause, like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool. Did you hear, everyone? I was hanging out with Andre." He says, "We watched Rocky Johnson defend his WW censored tag team title." And he talks about how in 96, in the same magical arena, he debuted here. And he says, despite having a hideous outfit and the worst haircut known to man, this was the first time the people chanted The Rock's name. I love that little callback there. And he starts running through all his catchphrases where it's like, "It doesn't matter," and "Know your role, lay it the smacketh down, do you like pie?" And, I'm surprised he didn't mention some of the other catchphrases that, left on the cutting room floor over the years, like "How's your lips?" and "Sweet cream on an ice cream sundae." I'm surprised that one never got in a shirt, but Poontang Pie got in a shirt. Speaking of catchphrases I cannot believe got over, there's "boots to asses," which he keeps repeating. And you know what? God bless The Rock, because the key to a good promo is to, talk about the match, talk about your opponent. He gets one sentence in this whole 5-minute promo about his opponents for this evening. He says, "Miz and R-Truth, boots to asses," all night long. And that's it. And then he just goes, "Well, John Cena, you fruity pebble bitch." He tells Cena that the two of them are going to take a lightning bolt and shove it up your ovulating lady parts, which does get a lady parts chant. And then he starts singing Frank Sinatra. He's like, Frank Sinatra was here. A number one, top of the list. A number one, top of the charts. A number one. And then he starts singing. He goes, these little town blues, just like turns into a karaoke session. He gets the crowd to sing along with him for the rest of the verse. And then after the song, he's just boots to asses all night long. New York City, if you smell. And I'm like, hang on, is there a match going on tonight or not? Because it's like, what a weird, insane promo this was. Even for The Rock, at this time period, this was an especially meandering promo. It's time for your only 5-on-5 Survivor Series match of the evening as Team Barrett, that's Wade Barrett, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, Hunico, and Cody Rhodes take on Team Orton, that's Randy Orton, Sheamus, Cara, Kofi Kingston, and Mason Ryan. A couple of interesting things about this lineup. You've got Christian was originally on Team Barrett, but a week or two before this, he got injured overseas, so that is why Ziggler is coming in and pulling double duty on the night, taking his place. Hunico, the former Sin Cara Negro, who feuded briefly with Sin Cara Azul to see who would be the real Sin Cara, so he would be unmasked and repackaged as Hunico. Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes, no more face mask anymore. He is not disfigured Cody. He lost the face mask in the midst of his feud with Orton in the weeks leading up to this. Definitely feels more intense, a little more vicious. Like, we were getting some, like, Patrick Bateman vibes from dashing Cody Rhodes before, but I feel that, like, after the mask, some of the promos he was cutting definitely felt like it was just cut right from that movie. Then there's Mason Ryan, who I remember a lot of people on the fan boards back in the day calling Welshie. He's this big jacked dude. He was part of the new Nexus for a while. He left and came back, kind of being repackaged a bit. A lot of folks compared him to Batista around this time because they had kind of like similar face and similar physiques, but you know, there are some differences between them. Like Mason Ryan doesn't have the tattoos or the charisma or the working ability or the talent. I love Kofi's Stay Puft Marshmallow Man inspired gear for the evening. He is one half of the tag team champions, which makes you wonder, where is his partner in Air Boom, Evan Bourne? Well, he is currently serving a suspension for having popped for a weed substitute. And then, of course, Orton comes in as the Survivor Series GOAT. He has won 4 Survivor Series matches at this point in his career. Ziggler starts off strong against Kofi, but then Kofi tags in Orton, who immediately RKOs him, and Ziggler is out in about a minute and a half. Well, at least his second time out in the ring tonight was brief. Good for him. Then a minute later, Kofi and Sin Cara both dive to the outside onto Swagger and Hunico respectively, but you see Sin Cara catch the ropes and he messes up his leg. He tears his patellar tendon and he is out for 6 months. And wow, what a shitty run this guy has had. Like, I was thinking as he was making his entrance, I forgot about this injury. So I see him making his entrance, I'm going, oh, Sin Cara, what a journey you've had. And then that happens, like, oh my God, it's worse than I remember. As he's down there and they're checking on him, the fans are chanting, we want Ryder. They're like, yeah, fuck this guy, he's being hurt. Let's get Zack Ryder in the match. So they have to take all this time to like get Sin Cara like out of there, and they have to kind of like reconfigure stuff. You see like the other baby faces just like having a chat for a while. The heels are having a chat. I have a feeling there's like the referees probably going back and forth. There's probably a lot of communication right now into reformatting this matchup because you just lost another guy before you intended to. Mason Ryan gets tagged in and is immediately booed. You can hear the collective groan when he goes on his hot tag against Hunico. He does have an impressive fallaway slam though. That did look badass. Blind tag by Cody leads to a crossroads onto Mason Ryan. He is out and there's a massive Cody chant. They loved that. Kofi goes on a big run. He hits the boom drop on Barrett. He gets caught in the ropes, which allows Barrett to come back. He hits the wasteland to eliminate Kofi. There's a part in commentary where Lawler's just like, hey, remember that Survivor Series team I was on that did the clean sweep? Like, we beat all our opponents. Failing to mention like who he was wrestling against and who his own partners were. I think those are very key pieces of information he left out. And then Cole follows up by saying, oh yeah, and you were part of the Survivor Series team that fought against The Rock when he debuted. And Lawler just goes, well, there you go. I'm like, yeah, you lost that one. Sheamus with a hot tag, top rope shoulder tackle to Jackie Swags, dropping some big knees on him, but he ignores the referee's count in the ropes and gets disqualified. Sheamus looking surprised like a doofus, but he hits a brogue kick onto Swagger on his way out. That allows Randy to eliminate him to only make it 3-on-1. Hunico goes for a flying nothing but lands right into an RKO and he is out. An RKO to Rhodes, but Barrett hits the wasteland on Orton, the pin and the win for Team Barrett. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars out of 5. It's really hard. I feel like Survivor Series matches could easily just go one way or the other. They can be great, or they can just be kind of like, and this one felt like that to me, more on that side, because, I will, give them credit. The match was bogged down very early on by that injury to Sin Cara. It took them a long time to, get out of that lull and that killing of momentum to, regain it. But I think they did carry it by the end. I think, everything after, those first few minutes went about as well as it could go, but it did feel like they were just dragging for a lot of it. But I will say it is a big win for Barrett and Rhodes, the future Cosmic Kingdom.
JCW Lunacy. New episodes every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. For over 25 years, JCW has delivered the very best in pro wrestling entertainment, bringing fans deep storytelling drama, gut-busting comedy, and unbelievable in-ring action. From wild characters to unforgettable rivalries, JCW has built a legacy that spans generations of fans. Whether you've been watching since day one or you're brand new to the chaos, there's never been a better time to join the madness. See why JCW is the hottest promotion in independent wrestling today, where anything can happen, and usually does.
Take a look at this!
Don't miss a single moment. Tune in every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube and catch up on past episodes right now. JCW Lunacy. It's more than wrestling, it's a way of life.
Backstage, the Bella Twins are chatting with WWE champ Alberto Del Rio. The ladies talk about how much fun they had shopping, and Del Rio's like, let's go to get Mexican food after this. WWE, the land of one dimension. In comes Johnny Ace, who tells Del Rio to take the match seriously. By the way, tells you how forgettable John Laurinaitis is, that I, forgot he shows up later in this show. But yeah, Del Rio's like, I am taking this match seriously. I've been beating Punk up for weeks. My whole home country is counting on me, and I'm not going to lose this title to someone who looks like he should be sleeping on the sidewalk by Wall Street. And then we go to the ringside area where we see the crew reinforcing the ring for the next matchup between the Big Show and Mark Henry, because the last time they wrestled, the ring done broke. My question is, why wouldn't you just do this before the show? Wouldn't it just be better overall if, for everyone, if the ring was more reinforced? I'm pretty sure the combined weight of the 10 guys who wrestled in that Survivor Series match is larger than the Big Show and Mark Henry combined. Just saying. We're getting ready for that matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship as Mark Henry defends once again against Big Show. And I do have to say, this hype package is my favorite of the whole show, because it goes all over the place. I love how they recap last month back at Vengeance when Show and Henry did the superplex spot, the ring breaks. They made it look like a bomb went off, it's flashbang. You hear the ee noise, and it's all black and white, and oh, the ring broke. And it's so funny the way they manipulate this footage. The way, there's so much weird sounds going on in this package that made me laugh so much. It talks about back at Money in the Bank, Mark Henry shattered the Big Show's ankle, and they just, they slow down the screaming for him. So Show comes back, they have their title match at Vengeance, the ring done breaks, so we're gonna run it back and have one more match. And Henry's saying, someone's getting carried out of this arena, but it's not gonna be me. And I do love, the fire Big Show has in this when he comes back and he's so mad, he starts shadow boxing the camera and shit on SmackDown. The hype package has got this moment where it's we're gonna lock up one more time, and it shows the two of them locking up, and it cuts away to this big thing. Oh man, this was an epic package. What a great battle of the Titans. And I will say, this feud between Show and Henry at this point in the timeline has been very fun so far. These two, I think, have been putting on some of the best work they've had in their careers in 2011.
I hope so. Let me tell you something. As far as my chip can only change hands via pinfall or submission.
Show hits the biggest arm drag I've ever seen. We get lots more stalling after that until Henry gets the chop block onto Big Show. Okay, now we get a lot of We Want Ryder chants. Henry is very slow, very methodical, very... what's the word? Boring. The fans are chanting boring, and kind of deservedly so, because this is not I think this is not at the intensity and the speed these fans want to see it at. We do get a Daniel Bryan chant as Show makes his comeback. He signals for the choke slam, but then Henry hits the strongest slam alive, follows it up with a splash and an elbow drop, but Show kicks out of all of it. Time for an Undertaker chant, I guess.
Think so, though. Mark looked like he still got a whole lot left.
Mark with the running tackle into the barricade for an OMG moment. Show avoids the countout. They tease the superplex again, then Show hits a super kick to Henry, which then gets an HBK chant.
Big Show, I mean, the guys, like I said, goes, he's running on emotion.
Show then goes up to the top rope. He's thinking about it a good long while. Then, well, it's a big top rope elbow drop, which then gets a Randy Savage chant. I can't with these people. Henry ducks the big punch, takes Show to Dick Kick City. Henry is disqualified. The match is over, but Henry is not done. He grabs a steel chair, hopes to Pillmanize Show's leg yet again, but Show moves out of the way. Show hits Henry with a knockout punch. Then after thinking about it for a minute, he returns the favor, crushing Henry's ankle with the chair instead. Henry is just rolling around, screaming in pain as Show sees over the damage, finally leaves the scene, and people are chanting for Daniel Bryan, and he doesn't show up. No cash in today, even though the setup was just like wide open. I felt like that was the most obvious thing you could have done. They do put it off like until the next week, but then it's nullified. So like Daniel Bryan does not win the world championship yet, but it's getting close. I'm gonna give it 2 stars out of 5. I think things got off to a kind of a rocky start and then improved over time. I think the fans did certainly make an additional spectacle of it. I think that the DQ finish is disappointing. We are not going to be done with this feud yet. I do think that it was an odd choice not to have Daniel Bryan cash in. Again, I felt like it was right there. And I think we're going to see in a minute why maybe they didn't go that route, because sometimes it might be a little overkill, but you'll get what I'm saying. In the promo zone, Matt Stryker asks Wade Barrett what's next after winning at Survivor Series. Wade putting over the Barrett barrage, and he reiterates he wants to be England's first world champion. Suddenly, The Miz and R-Truth interrupt, and they're like, really? Is that what it's all about? The Barrett barrage? And then Wade just goes, yeah, to quote your American Charlie Sheen, I believe they call it winning, which, oh, that just puts a big red timestamp on this event to crystallize it forever, doesn't it? And then Wade just walks away, and Miz and R-Truth just stand there looking like a couple of jobbers. And then you have them in their promo saying, nobody's focusing on us. No one's thinking about us. Gee, I wonder why, because you look like total chumps. Like, why couldn't you just jump Wade Barrett then and there for him like punking you out? That would have been a good thing to like, hey, who cares if it's another heel? Like, you want to beat him up because you want to show that you mean business. But no, these guys are just like getting, walked away from, and they're like, how come no one's taking us seriously? And R-Truth's going like, why aren't we on the side of the buses? Why aren't we on the banners? Stop wanting me! And Truth says he was outside Madison Square Garden. He saw a bunch of pigeons, and one of them was looking at a poster of The Rock, and I said, hey, pigeon, The Rock and Cena are gonna lose tonight. And do you know what the pigeon said? And they're like, what did he say? And he's like, nothing, because pigeons don't talk. All they do is crap. And then The Miz is like, Rock and Cena are a load of crap. And R-Truth says, crap is crap, and crap is gonna get got. Ugh. Oh my God. Like, I didn't think you could make them look like losers before the match any more than you could here. Why not just have them like drop their pants in the middle of this promo? Why not have them just violently lose control of their bowels while you're at it? You might as well. On to the semi-main event for the WWE Championship as Alberto Del Rio defends against Charles Montgomery Punk. And right before the hype package plays, you hear Jerry Lawler say, and this all started at Survivor Series. And then just as the video's going, you hear Cole yell, SummerSlam. So CM Punk beat John Cena back at SummerSlam to become the undisputed champ, but then Alberto cashed in Money in the Bank to become the champion. Meanwhile, Punk's been in this growing feud with John Laurinaitis, who demands that Punk bend the knee, and he won't give him the title shot until he says he respects him. And then Punk's like, I respect you, Funk man. And so then Laurinaitis is like, okay, you're not going to get a title match until Alberto agrees to give you one. And so Punk, taking that very literally, he goes in after a match match, and he puts the Anaconda Vice on him until he finally just gives him the match. He basically holds him hostage to get the title match, which is pretty funny. So we go to the match. Del Rio gets introduced by Ricardo Rodriguez, as he did. Then we get an announcement that Punk has his own special ring announcer for the evening, the WWE Hall of Famer, Howard Finkel. Oh man, this is a cool moment to see him coming out in the garden, in the tux. You see him looking really emotional, like kind of taken aback by this moment of recognition for him. And while he's thinking about this, you can hear Michael Cole already burying Howard Finkel and talking about, oh, he's not fitting into his tux. And, you know, it's just sad. Like, Booker T's trying to build him up and Cole's just laughing at him. And there is a weird part where, like, Howard's waiting for his cue and he's like that in the screen before he starts talking. And that was kind of funny, but man, like, Finkel never got any respect in this company from anybody. It's really sad when you consider like what he put in to that company. So Punk gets his entrance, the match begins, there's a big "We want ice cream" chant as it starts off, as well as a Colt Cabana chant. Early on, Rodriguez has the cheap shot on Punk, he chases him around ringside, allowing Del Rio to hit a big drop kick, starts working on Punk's arm. Punk dodging a move from Del Rio, and Alberto taking a damn Chris Hamrick bump out of the ring. I swear that's gotta be one of the gnarliest recurring bumps I've seen in wrestling, where people can take that like regularly and not break their hips. Punk with a boot to Burt, and we get a double down. We get some yay boos. Punk's got great fire in his comeback. He hits the big springboard clothesline. Del Rio fires back with a big kick out of the corner and a single arm takedown. Punk goes up top, but he gets pushed off, takes a scary looking fall, but he still manages to fight back. He hits that top rope elbow drop, but how is it possible that Big Show did a better one than him? Del Rio gets the cross arm breaker locked in, but Punk gets the ropes. Punk kicking Ricardo in the mush off the apron, but that distraction almost cost him. We almost see a full moon, there's so much tights. Punk gets a cover, Del Rio kicks out, but Punk grabs the arm for the Anaconda Vice. Burt taps out. CM Punk has regained the WWE Championship. It's the 16th time the title has changed hands in that building, and he does some crowd diving. I'm going to give this one 4 stars out of 5. It's a very good matchup here. I will say this, and this is before anything with like him and the Paige relationship came out. I never cared about Alberto Del Rio. I just never thought he was that interesting a guy. I thought his style in the ring wasn't that exciting. I think like he can work a good match, and like this hit match here with Punk was fine, but I don't think he's really responsible for it, honestly. It's just like, I don't know, the Del Rio experiment, it never jived with me as a viewer. I just didn't buy him as a very convincing character, very convincing heel. And this is by no means the end of his run here, but I thought, you know, it's like this is kind of the end of his biggest push in the company. And of course, this is the beginning of CM Punk's monumental 434-day title reign. Nobody thought it would get to that point. Certainly, there are a healthy mix of bad and good things associated with this reign. He would go on to not really be treated in a main event position despite being the champion. And the longer he held it, the more you realized, oh, he's gonna drop it to The Rock. Like, that's why he's holding it on for so long now. So, you know, the title reign itself might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but to see him hold the championship, to win it back, and for him to have it as long as he ends up having it for, that's pretty cool. In our main event, John Cena and The Rock will definitely beat The Miz and R-Truth. The Hype Package talks of them as stars who defined eras, the most charismatic team of all time, going against men who personify disorder, disarray, and disobedience. And also for this storyline, this whole feud with The Rock and Cena, they are doing a very weird segmenting of the audience. It kind of reminds me in a way of like with Brett and Shawn, where they kind of made fans plant their flags essentially, like US versus Canada. Now it feels like they're doing a similar thing with The Rock and Cena. It's becoming this like cultural divide. It's becoming a battle between like the real wrestling fans, the men, like the grown-ups and the Rock fans, against the little kids of the John Cena fan club and everything. And The Rock's only weapons he has against Cena are like Fruity Pebbles. He makes gay insinuations. He says he's got lady parts. This is just classic, you know, Rock promo styles here. Whereas Cena, he actually has some good burns where it's like, hey, you said you were never going to leave and you left. And also you have your notes written on your wrist, which of course that latter one was a bit of a faux pas for Cena. But like, I think that the build for this, it was just like really interesting the way they made that separation. It was definitely a divide of like, here's the Attitude Era fans, the ones who are trying to get back, you know, going against this person who they see as like everything wrong with WWE, everything, you know, wrong with wrestling because, oh, he caters to children, who we also once were, but forget about that. And me personally at the time, I didn't care about this angle one way or the other because I was already getting sick of John Cena. The Rock was never really my favorite guy during the Attitude Era growing up, so the nostalgia pop for him coming back was so minimal for me. And The Rock was hardly there for the build for this matchup, and not to mention, Miz and R-Truth were just there to be the fall guys, so I couldn't have cared less about this angle. The Miz and R-Truth come out to R-Truth's theme, and it's the remix with new lyrics that say, "You suck." And my favorite lyric on this one is Truth saying, "The good R-Truth is gone. The bad R-Truth is getting the bone." I like that. He can distinguish that he has gone from good to bad. John Cena getting one of the biggest standing boovations I've ever seen before, but this is why John is one of the greatest, because I think when you're hit with a reaction like that, he's getting crucified out there. It's like way bigger of a scale than like One Night Stand 06 was, for instance, but he just shrugs it off, smiles, and says into the camera, "New York's favorite son, they love me here, Stu." I love that. The Rock comes out for his entrance, and boy does he get a big ol' MSG pop. It's his first match in 7 years, and I cannot believe how relatively short his entrance took compared to some of the last times I've seen him. Cena goes to the outside before the match and gifts his shirt to the widow of the recently passed Arnold Skaaland. There's boots to asses chants as the match begins. Again, I'm amazed that that phrase got as over as it did during this time, because I think it sucks. The match begins, and The Rock is definitely here to impress. He's the first one in the ring, and he's hitting big arm drags, a cradle roll up. He's just all over the place here. He looks very impressive. He even has Truth in a fisherman suplex pin, but Cena has the referee out of position. There's a Fruity Pebbles chant. There's a lot of chanting in this matchup, and I'm just kind of looking at the timeline like, whoo boy, 23 more minutes of this. Cena goes for some of his moves of doom. He does the "you can't see me" taunt to The Rock. Oh, he's done it now. He stepped out of the corner, and Cena walks right into a Truth clothesline. The heels work over Cena for a while as we get the dueling chants for Cena, and again, they're segmenting that crowd because there is a definite shift in octave between the "we want Cena" and the "Cena sucks" chants.
I just don't see The Rock stepping in for a second to help out his partner.
Truth taken all day on the top rope. Cena rolls through his dive to lots of booing. The Miz steals Rocky's taunt. We almost get a tag, but Truth yoinks Rock off the apron. Cena dodging a leg drop by Truth, slowly making his way to the corner to finally tag in The Rock. Rock bottom to Truth, an ugly dragon screw to Miz, and oh lord, that sharpshooter is bad even by Rock standards. Cena tackles Truth out of the ring. Miz does some trash talk. He walks right into the spine on the pine. The people's elbow on Miz, the 3 count, the win. Was there any doubt? The Rock celebrates in the ring. Cena on the outside looks to leave, but The Rock beckons him back in. They do a pose off in the corners. Rock is definitely cheered more than Cena. Then Cena says some things. He goes to walk away, but Rock hits him with the Rock Bottom. Big shots fired as we head to WrestleMania, and the show goes off the air. I'm going to give this 2.5 stars out of 5. Now, I will say right out the way, this is a big deal. John Cena and The Rock teaming together. Big star power in this matchup, to be sure. The crowd was digging it. They were hanging on every single thing those guys did in the ring. But I don't know if it was the whole booking and the build to this, or just how wacky and distracting the crowd was, or some combination. I just couldn't get into this match. Like, it's just, when you know so clearly how this thing's gonna go, that's already makes you partially divested. But I always say, if the journey is good, then the destination that we already know will be fine. But it's like, it wasn't even that great of a journey, because like at no point did they ever make The Miz and R-Truth look like any kind of threat to these guys. And I would think that even in a foregone conclusion of a match like this, you would try to give fans the illusion that something might happen. I mean, that might have been a cool thing to do for the Mania build. Have Cena take the fall, and all of a sudden it's like, that's gonna fuck with his head. Or I don't know, maybe The Rock loses. A fat chance that's gonna happen. The way that Truth and Miz they could have been played by literally anyone else. They could have been any other body, and it would have accomplished the exact same thing. Truth would be suspended right after the show. He would also serve a 30-day suspension for apparently popping for a weed substitute. And that would be pretty much the end of our Truth in the main event scene for forever. Pretty much forever. My grade for the 2011 Survivor Series is a C+, and that C stands for Rock. This was definitely a major rock-heavy show. If you knew nothing else about this show, all you know is that it's the manly man, The Rock, and the Fruity Pebbles mangina, John Cena, teaming up against it doesn't matter. They didn't really care about making anyone else on this show look great. And I can get it on one level, because look at the combined star power of Cena and The Rock compared to literally everyone else on the roster. Even though that is your own doing, WWE, you made that happen. You made that disparity as wide as it was. The main event, pure spectacle, tons of sizzle. As a match, I didn't care for it. I thought that the opener was good. The Del Rio CM Punk match was the best of the night. Definitely had the trappings of a big event for this being one of the big four, but as far as the action itself, it just felt very middle of the road for me. But what did you think of the Survivor Series? How about that unique tag team of Cena and The Rock? How about this review? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon to get all the notifications. Next time here for the classic pay-per-view review, we are taking the final step, the final page of my story of completing WCW in the year 2000 with Mayhem. However, before that, on the Patreon page, you will get a slight detour to Oberhausen, Germany for the Millennium Final pay-per-view coverage. That's on patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. That is just one of the many perks that you're going to get if you sign up for the Patreon. You get exclusive access to Millennium Finals review, and you get early access to the Mayhem review along with all my other Wednesday videos on top of a lot of other great content there. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.